JDL USA presents Rabbi Nachum Shifren, Torah scholar, author, public speaker, and good friend of the late Rabbi Meir Kahana.
Well, good evening or good day or whatever, wherever you have to be, whatever time you're there. Once again, we're together. It's been a couple weeks, but summertime is slowly grinding down to a halt, and everybody's going back to work soon, and we'll be stuck with our Torah, our halacha, Dalet Amos of halacha, and we'll be getting back to normal again, if you want to call that normal. Back into the news. The news is if you look at the news correctly, Rabbi Kahana once had an interesting dissertation, and it was called "How to Read the Newspaper." How to read the newspaper? Just pick it up and read it. No, that's not what he meant. Whatever they say, flip it. It's something else. It's not what they say. It's kind of like the fake news, original fake news. Here we have this week. Many of you probably shook your head when you saw that the great thinker himself, Noam Chomsky, Noam, of course, meaning pleasantness, anything but, said that Israel should not exist. The state of Israel shouldn't exist. So the first thing that comes to mind beside outrage, you can't get too outraged. I was just talking to Naama about this, and you have to look at this with a little bit of open mind, a little bit of sense of humor. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. But the truth is that last week's parsha, which we didn't really talk about yet, Re'eh, it says there that I gave you today life or death. Choose life. There's so many ways to interpret that. I like to think of it as, we'll get back to Chomsky in a minute, but we don't need to get too excited about people that are ignoramuses. He knows nothing except his own communist dogma, which, unfortunately, that doesn't really do it all. So that's part of life, but kind of a small perverted part of life. But as a teacher of over 20 years, I taught in LAUSD, probably arguably one of the worst districts in the country. There's this fixation about teen suicide. The statistics are absolutely shocking. 30% of our high school students have either considered or tried suicide. Now, I'm not even going to go into the amount of Jewish kids that have tried this. One of the biggest shandas, as they say, shanda, like some sort of, what does shanda mean in Yiddish? It means like a scandal, right? One of the things that the Orthodox people, I guess I'm Orthodox, pretty much, I daven 3 times a day, eat kosher food, and served in the IDF, so I'm probably Orthodox. But one of the things that Orthodox people don't like to talk about is their own dirt, their own dirty linen. There is absolutely youth groups, large groups that are very disaffected, that have dropped off. They call them frying out. And frying out meaning you're free from Judaism, free from the strictures of Judaism. And a lot of stuff going on with drugs and pot and stuff like that. Now, nobody here is a paragon of virtue. Nobody here is, beating their chest. We don't need to do that. That's not who we are. Each one of us has our own things that we have to work on. Getting closer to Hashem, doing better with mitzvahs and learning Torah. Each one of us has our own issues. But when I was at a table at my daughter's house, and there was 4 young men from a yeshiva, they were telling me that everybody smokes pot. Now, let me just explain something to you. Let me help you out here. In the 60s, the pot was 1/30 of the potency as it is today, meaning the kids there's no way they can think or perform or do any sort of calculation, let alone learning Talmudic study. It doesn't work. And we've got a whole bunch of people in the Jewish community that have They just pretty much raise their hands up, and they've pretty much given up on their kids. Without clear knowledge, without a focused mind, without the ability to really analyze and synthesize very profound things in Judaism, that's not a recipe for success for the Jewish people. The Jewish people's strength comes in their ability to learn Torah, to learn the values, to learn what not to do, to learn what to do, of course. But Maseh Avot Siman Labanim, the deeds of our fathers, meaning Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the great Tanaim and Amoraim, the people that were the great thinkers in the Gemara, their deeds are our signs. We see what they did, and we try to emulate them as best as we can. This whole situation with Noam Chomsky, that Israel shouldn't exist, first of all, shut your frickin' mouth, okay? You don't need to tell the entire Gentile world how sick we are, or that we shouldn't exist, or that we shouldn't have to do that. This is something this is beyond apostasy. This is beyond heresy. This is called self-immolation. This is called a suicidal behavior. And when we see this guy, quote unquote, the cream of the crop of the left, when we see him pontificating, we can only imagine what his underlings are going through or thinking. Very disturbing indeed. Those of us that have studied Torah, those of us that had the merit to have learned with Rabbi Kahana, either in his yeshiva or through connecting with him, through hearing him, know the error of the ways of these people. But what I want to do is to talk to you a little bit about, before we talk about the Parsha, a little bit about what's going on. There was a rally in Tel Aviv. They say that 1 million people were there. Did everybody hear about that? Demanding that the hostages be released. Really? You're going to demand stuff of murderers of children, rapers, incinerators, people that took babies and put them in ovens? What are you going to tell these people? There's going to be a hard rain is going to fall, as the famous singer once said. Now we have the Israeli army helping distribute food to the people in Gaza. Am I crazy? Or what's going on here? I must be nuts to see what I'm seeing. Rabbi Kahana once told us one of the most important parsha, one of the most important Torah portions in the entire Torah was Kitetsei. Kitetsei, and we've talked about this before, just to rehash. Kitetsei lemilchama aloivecha. When you go to war against your enemy, now keep in mind every word that the Torah says, there's nothing superfluous. Every single word has tremendous, profound implications on everything. Of course, the immediate thought from Rashi, our Torah interpreter, was, you mean to say you're going to go to war against your friends? And then he says, this is to tell you that when you go to war, there's a time for peace and there's a time for war. When you go to war, you treat them like your enemy. Don't be giving them food. Don't be giving them water. Don't be giving them Pampers, wipes, oil, packages of food and whatnot. In the meantime, while the Israeli army is distributing food to our enemies that want to murder us, lo and behold, we've got a whole phalanx of organizations, Christian organizations, that are giving food packages to Jews in Israel. This has never happened before where non-Jews are getting involved. This is called the land of milk and honey, the promise that God gave us. And we have people hungry in Israel. A third of the land in the north in the Galilee has been burned due to rocket fires from Hezbollah. And they're still firing rockets at us from the Houthis, or whatever they're called. I don't know if I look like I'm a little bit spaced out here. I don't understand it. The war should have been over on October 8th. We talked about this. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. An entire embargo by sea, by air, everything. No food, no water, nothing. You want food, you want water? Give us our hostages back. That's how it goes. It's sad. So basically, the soldiers that we're sending into Gaza to be murdered or killed by bombs, by roadside bombs, whatever, those thousands of soldiers that were killed in Gaza are basically a korban, basically an offering for the world, to show the Gentile world that, you see, we're willing to kill our youth so we won't harm anybody in a Gaza hospital or something like that. This is what it's come down to. There'll come a day, Rabbi Kahana once said, that when we have to rid Israel of all the Arabs. Now, there are Arabs that want to live in Israel. The Torah calls for people that want to live in the land of Israel to be to submit to the hegemony of the Jewish people. That doesn't mean to be hurt or harmed, meaning there's taxation, there's no citizenship rights, there's civil rights, but no voting and nothing like that. And of course, they don't tell us what to do. We tell them what to do. It's a whole different world. But it's called, I don't know, it's called Toshavim, people that forswear idolatry and that will listen to what the Jewish people say. You can't have a world where when you've got the Hatikva being played, where it says, Nefesh Yehudi Homia, the soul of a Jew yearns. Now that's the national anthem of Israel. Do you expect the Arabs to get really excited about that? And when they hear that a Jewish soul yearns, I'm sure they get really turned on about that, right? So that's the whole point. Rabbi Kahana once said there'll come a day when we will be forced by God. We won't be able to take it anymore. Just like Pharaoh. He was forced by God to just send the Jewish people out of his country. He was dying. After those 10 plagues, that was it. But the Egyptians begged Pharaoh, kick the Jews out, we can't take it anymore. That's what's going to happen. Ultimately, Rabbi Kahana told us that the murdering, the rapes, the stabbings, the bombings, it's still going on in Israel. You don't hear about it because they cover it up. In Judea and Samaria, there's whole squadrons of soldiers that if it wasn't for them, there'd be even more massacres. This is in the land of Israel, where we have open sedition and open treachery and uprisings, and we're just letting it go. Again, Israeli soldiers bringing in pallets filled with rice, beans, and whatever, distributing them, making sure the Hamas doesn't get their hands on any of the food. That's not our job. Our job is to destroy the enemy. One day when we will be forced again to rid the country of every seditious Arab, just kick them out wherever. Rabbi Kahana was asked, well, how can you kick them out? He goes, Yesh Dan v'yesh Eged, two main bus lines in Israel. Well, what about the good Arabs? They'll sit in the front seat, is what he used to say. This isn't a call for reactionism, for racism. This is a call for sanity. It's been like this for 70 years since the Jewish state started. The Jewish state started with Ben Gurion, but the nation of Israel started with God, the same God that created the heaven and earth in 6 days, commanded us to rest on the seventh day. We don't really care what the Israeli government says. We don't really care what the United Nations says. We could care less about whatever. What Hashem told us is what matters. And however, there is a Jewish state. There is a quote unquote, their protocols and whatnot. But a Jewish state that doesn't have the backing of its people, a Jewish state that has just buckled under a leftist purge. When you have 1 million people in Tel Aviv demanding from the terrorists, the murderers, the rapists, that they release the hostages, those hostages are walking dead. They're not going anywhere. It turns out that what is all this about is to get rid of Bibi. That's what all this is about. It has nothing to do with the hostages. I told my kids, listen, Daddy, what would you do if you were in Gaza? I still told them, I don't want anybody. If I were in Gaza, I don't want 1,000 murderers to be released from prisons just so I can come back and have bagels and lox in the kibbutz. I would never do that. I will never do that. There are things that are that are more important than death, and that's one of them. Anyway, this is what we wanted to talk about this week. Not too much on the Parsha, except that this admonition to choose life over death. I think of the dilemma that we're in, the youth of this country, the youth of Israel. The youth of Israel is always 10 years behind the youth here. So if they're talking about committing suicide or thinking about suicide among our youth, they're also talking about it in Israel. There's whole organizations devoted to this. I can tell you that as somebody who was thinking about suicidal tendencies when I was a youth, we had the 60s revolution here. Everything was LSD and this and that. I didn't know what was going on. My parents certainly weren't in a position to help me. So things were pretty bleak. It wasn't until I started studying Torah that I realized that it's all a figment of our imagination. It's all bupkis, as they say. Anyway, I've been ranting and raving here, giving a little bit of philosophy. Choose life. Life is the Torah. Life is the learning, opening up a book, learning with a partner, learning with a friend, learning with 2 people, 3, 4, 5 at your home. It's totally worth it. There's nothing there that's left for chance. It's all about reasoning. It's all about there's a purpose for everything under the sun, right? So that would be my message today. And I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Again, we're a little bit late on our Torah, but there's a couple things that we wanted to talk about, and I'm glad we shared them. And if anybody has any questions, by the way, please support the JDL. JDL is the group that founded by our saintly Rabbi Meir Kahana, who gave his life for the Jewish people. We have good people here. Again, nobody here is a saint. Nobody here is a tzaddik. But we're trying to do the right thing, and we're trying to spread the word to the Jewish people that, as the rabbi once said, if you want respect, you better have self-respect. Self-respect is learning who we are. Let's never forget that. Anyway, God bless you all. Take care. Have a wonderful week, and Shabbat Shalom.